you're not going to stop reacting to life, because life is going to continue to cause you to want new things. So you don't get into the vortex. You don't get into the vortex and just shut yourself out away from life. That's not how it's going to work. You're going to get in the vortex, and as you deal with contrast, or better yet said, as you experience contrast, as life continues to come at you, then you know what happens? You're better at going with the expansion. You're better at going with the rockets. You're better at dreaming. You're better at life causing you to want more money, and for once going with the money instead of talking about why you can't have it and where you don't know and where it's going to come from, and the fact that you don't know where it's going to come from. So truly, you can't get it wrong. You really can't, because you're not here to prove anything. You're not here to get a mark on some chart, so you can't get it wrong. And in fact, you're always getting it right. But the thing is, you can slow what you want down because of your sort of resistant thoughts. And so you can sort of mess up your point of attraction. But you know what's really great? Your inner being never messes up. Your inner being is flawless. So you don't really have to worry that much, because you can't mess it up. And you know why you can't really mess it up? Because your inner being is never going to forget about your desires. Your inner being is never going to be pure positive. It's always going to be pure positive energy. It's never going to join you in your resistance. Ooh, your inner being is never going to join you in your resistance. And so let's talk about your inner being for a hot second. So your inner being is who you really are. It is. But as you're in this body, you are not a different version, but you're an extension of your inner being. So let's start from the beginning. You decided to come into this body because you were interested and you were non-physical energy. And so when you decided to manifest yourself in this physical personality you know as you, through the avenue you know as your parents, you didn't all come. Most of you stayed in the non-physical, and the rest of you came, or a little part of you came in this body, in this form that you know as you. And so while you're in this body, you still continue to be that source energy. And while you're in this body, you have 2 points of attractions. And that's why you can actually experience negative emotion, because your inner being still exists. Your non-physical counterpart still exists. The part of you that stayed in non-physical still does exist. And you're over here, and you can be in contradiction to what you want. And that's the only thing that slows anything that you want down. You see, when you want something and it's just not coming, it's only for one reason. And we can get very sophisticated about it, we can get very nitty-gritty about it, but ultimately, because it shows up in many ways, but the law-based understanding, ready for this, is that you're focusing on something other than your pure desire. And you know what you're usually focusing on other than your desire, your dream, the fact that it's not here yet, the fact that you haven't seen it, and just all the stuff. You're focusing on a reality that doesn't have your desire. And so instead of trying to daydream, instead of dreaming, instead of trying to find alignment with your desire, because here's the thing, is that the reason why you don't feel good, the reason why you feel negative emotion, the reason why you don't like yourself is because you're not allowing yourself to be who you really are. And that's why you feel that tug. That's what the negative emotion is all about. It's not the reason, it's not because you don't have the dream life. Well, that is a reason, but the real sort of dysfunctional, or the real disruption in your vibration, or the real sort of the negative emotion that you're feeling is really the contradiction that you're adding into the mix, because your inner being is never going to stop being pure positive energy. And so when you're not pure positive energy, then you don't get to line up with your inner being, you don't match with your inner being, and you don't feel the harmony with your inner being. You see, you really are source energy. You can't be anything other than source energy. It's not that you're over here and source energy is over there greater than you. It's that you're literally source energy. You and source energy are always in the exact same equation. You are source energy. And to be that source energy, you have to right now in this moment be feeling good, because even your emotions, the emotion that you think, because when you're conditional, you think, hey, when I have this money, I'm going to feel good. But really that feeling good is not even about the money. The feeling good is because in this now moment, you're seeing your reality in a way that your inner being is also seeing it. So you're finding agreement or harmony with your inner being. So literally when you feel good, that's you feeling the enthusiasm of source energy. So you can never not be source energy, because that's who you are. And we're gonna say that one more time. When you feel enthusiasm, when you feel satisfaction, when you feel joy, that's you literally translating how your inner being feels about everything. You are your inner being. And that's what we want most for you, is to find that connection, because that connection is what it's all about. And it's not hard to find that connection. In fact, it's really easy. It's that connection that actually gives you all the manifestations. That's what we say, find the emotion, focus on the emotion. The emotion is your work, because when you focus on your emotion, now you have connection. Whereas when you focus on the manifestation, now you don't have connection. Now that tipping point can't work in your favor. Now you can't see the manifestations, because you're focusing on the one thing that's not allowing you your manifestation, is the fact that you want your manifestation. And since you want it, and since it's not here, then you're not going to be able to get there from there. You're not going to be able to see your manifestation, because you know what? You know why? Because you're so bound up and not seeing it. You want to know exactly why. And that's the thing, is there's no reason why you don't have it other than then in this now moment, you're focusing on something other than your desire. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because now when you think about it, there's so many moments where, or even just now, there are so many now moments where you're spending focusing on something other than your desire. Because the thing is, momentum is going to go. Momentum will go. But how come momentum doesn't go? What slows momentum down? contradiction in your energy. And you know why contradict your energy? Because you like to be real, but you don't have to do that anymore. You can care about how you feel. And you see, it's really so much more easier than it seems to be, because all you have to do is just be a master of your desire. And so all of your desires are laid out in front of you, right? Imagine literally like every desire that you want. Every subject is really two subjects, like a stick with the positive side on one end, meaning what you want, and the other end is what you don't want. So wanted and unwanted. That's how your universe, that's the balance of your universe. So there's just a bunch of pile of sticks. And so we can tell you we can even coach you through, feeling better on subject by subject, going up the emotional scale and just feeling better, going general about it, finding the emotional place. But the thing is that it's so slow, it's too slow. You don't have enough time. You want to create the big things, and to create the big things, you have to use more leverage. You have to apply more allowance. You have to be more in allowing mode. And the best way to be in allowing mode is to daydream. Daydreaming is that, because when you're daydreaming, there's no resistance. And do you remember when you were little, you would be daydreaming? Do you remember what daydreaming was like? Daydreaming was you just enjoying your mind, enjoying the images in your mind. Daydreaming is that's powerful, and that's who you are naturally. You already know all this stuff. You came here and you always had all the answers. And so now as we're talking to you, we're really talking to you. The reason why we're talking to you in this way is because we want you to do what's natural, what feels good to you, because that's the only way that you'll know this will work. That's the only thing that you need to know. We want to empower you, because you don't need someone to look over your shoulder, and you don't need someone to tell you what to do. You literally have guidance. You are source energy, and it's time that you learn how to use your guidance system. So any process that you do, anything that you do, if it makes you feel better, then continue doing more of it. And so some people will say, well, there are things that I do when I do them and they make me feel good, but they're sort of seen as bad. Then you know what's really interesting is that when you do something that feels good to you, but then you feel guilty because of how others may see it, then you're not doing something that's good for you. So either stop doing it or line up with it, or stop doing it and find alignment with not doing it. Make a choice and line up with it. So do what feels good to you. You were trained out of that, but that really is the power. And we know that the power that you really came here with, the ability that all of you walked on this planet into this lifetime with, was daydreaming, was imagination, was wanting something and going with it. You see, that's what will kill you the most of all, is that you're over here and you're thinking, I don't need to live conscious anymore because I'm a high-flying being. I understand all this. I watch all of his videos. I understand that it's really about non-resistance. I understand that I just have to feel good all the time, but you're not going to feel good all the time because you didn't come here to feel good all the time. But the thing that's really interesting though is that contrast will always continue to make you want things. And the thing is, contrast is really your best friend. Contrast is the best thing in the world, and we want you to appreciate the contrast. And do you know what we mean by contrast? We mean that sort of force where when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. You would call it tragedy. You would call it, but we would call it more clarification when something bad happens to you, but it's not something bad happening to you. And see, that's the thing, is that you want to see contrast as something that's delicious, something that's like, ooh, because the reason why your desires get bigger and bigger and bigger is because you keep asking. So you see, you're not gonna get into alignment with your desire and then just stop wanting it. You're gonna get into alignment with your desire, and then you're gonna experience more contrast, and then you're gonna experience more contrast. But see the contrast as fuel, right? Because the more you want something, the more energy is focused on your behalf by your inner being. So if that's what you want, the contrast speeds things up. But the thing is, if you're not good at staying up to speed, then that contrast is going to kick your ass, right? And the easiest way to stay up to speed is to not clean up your energy. The easiest way to stay up to speed is to daydream, because when you're in that daydreaming state, now you're literally one with source energy. Now you're feeling non-resistant. That feeling, that power of non-resistance is, you can literally feel the sensitivity of the vibrations coming together. You can feel the movement of vibration, of thoughts turning into things. You can feel everything. You're in on everything. You're powerful. And so what you want most for all of you is to want something and not kill it. Want money, and for once not say, how am I going to get it? Want money, and then in your mind enjoy the image, the daydream, receiving the daydream, not creating it, but receiving it, receiving the glimpse of your vortex, of you just having money, having this, having that, because that's what life is really all about. And that's all you have to do in order to feel good. You just have to stay up to speed with your desire, and contrast will help you do that. Contrast is really so interesting, because while you're here on this planet, there's always going to be something more to want. There's always going to be, when we say more, we mean new, yes, but we mean like an expanded version. We mean you don't want just $1 million. You want, tomorrow you're gonna want $1 million, and then you want a lot of money, and every moment you're wanting more and more and more and more. So you're creating your fortune to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And let's just say it like this, that fortune, your desires are never gonna get smaller. And so that's the thing, is that the more you spend in this sort of it's so interesting because all of you are so good at daydreaming. You're so good at doing quote unquote nothing with your action, because you deep down know that I'm doing everything. I'm creating reality with my vibration and not my action. Because the thing is, your action is just, it's not that powerful. But when you do things with your, oh, but you know what's interesting is that when you do things with your vibration, there's kind of a lag. Because, and do you know why there's a lag? Because that vibration has to turn into a thing. It has to mature. But the thing is, and that's what we're here to talk to you about, right? Because that lag time doesn't mean that you're sitting around just waiting for something to happen. Because when it feels like that, then you're not in alignment with your desire. But when you're in alignment with your desire, when most of your thoughts about your desire are ones of like feeling good, the nature of is belief, meaning you're talking about why you want it, you're dreaming it, you're enjoying it. You're not talking about how, you're not talking about the details. You're just talking about why, and you're enjoying the dream, and you're just letting the dream rip in your mind. You're just letting go crazy. You're just enjoying your mind. You're feeling uplifted and good and free. You're just enjoying it in your mind. Then that's a desire that you're a match to. And so it feels good even in the lag time. But the thing is, in the lag time, if you're doubting it, or in the lag time, if you're wondering where it is, in the lag time, because remember, contrast. So when you're lagging, in the lag time, you're gonna still want it over and over again, because especially when there's something like money, you're gonna keep wanting it. So that do you see how your desires literally get bigger because you keep asking, because you're reacting to reality. So you keep noticing that when you notice that when you want isn't there, you ask for more. But the thing is, if you're not up to speed with that, right, then you know what happens. The asking more will kick your ass. The asking for more will be uncomfortable. You can't stop asking. And that's literally why people age. That's why people's bodies deteriorate, because they can't stay up to speed, because they're not, you know what, and you know why they don't stay up to speed? Because they're not willing to dream. They're not willing to enjoy the dream. They're such realists, and being practical will kill you every single time. So don't be practical. Instead, realize that you're doing everything right, because you're doing it all for the connection. You're doing it all for the fun. So you're always getting it right. But the thing is, if you want to see more of the big things, if you want to see the things that really ring your bells, then you got to see more in that daydream state. But the thing about that daydream state is that don't just think that it's a place where everything is suspended. No. That daydream state, it will grow. The momentum will grow. Because one thing about law of attraction is when you feel positive emotion, right, about something, then that means you're on the right track and it's going to grow. But when you feel negative emotion, that means you contradicted the original positive emotion momentum. And that's why you're not experiencing what you want, because you keep killing it with reality. So just stop doing that. Daydream. Keep daydreaming. And the thing about daydreaming, and we'll leave you with this last piece, is that daydreaming is dangerous, because you're going to get to that place of non-resistance. And you know what happens? In that place of non-resistance, you're going to go back into this atmosphere of resistance, and it's going to hit you like a car, and it's going to really hurt, and then you're going to feel very negative. And you know what you will do? Instead of daydreaming some more, you're going to ask why you feel negative. You're going to beat the drum of why I feel negative. What am I doing wrong? I must be doing something wrong. And then you know what's going to happen? There's going to be more contrast. You're going to want to feel better, and then you're going to say, well, I don't think I'm doing a good job. I don't think I'm doing the right thing. And then that desire of wanting to feel better just kicks your ass. And you see how it's really a vicious cycle, because you always want something. You will always want something. So what we're saying is keep up with you, because when your inner being becomes the vibrational version of what you want, let's say like this, when you want more money, your inner being becomes the vibrational version of that fortune. So you just became a millionaire, a billionaire, trillion, even more than that. So now if you're not willing to dream that dream, if you're not willing to be in alignment with that desire is literally going to be the reason why you get sick. That desire is really going to be the reason why you don't feel good. And if you don't feel good, that's far too big of a price to pay, truly.